Retro Trekking with the Caramel Apples, a podcast that celebrates all things 70s and 80s pop culture and explores how this fond nostalgia affects our lives. Each week we travel back in time to embark on the nexus to revisit retro segments that ingrained itself into our culture and our hearts. Now, here's your hosts, Kennedy Rizzo and Cooper Lee.
So here's a fascinating one that we're about to share with the listeners this week.
Hashtag facts.
Oh my goodness. Orchard Archivers, we've got a goodie. The Outsiders. Oh.
Yes. There's so many reasons why this movie works.
Oh my goodness, right?
Yeah. And what's one of the main reasons why The Outsiders works?
Well, let's see. There was a lot of stars in it.
Yes.
And they were of the male persuasion.
Yes.
They were hotties.
There it is. Yes. So they could have been horrible actors, but man, you want to talk about chock full of eye candy.
Yeah, and they'll do that from time to time. Like, throughout the years, there have been movies where there'd be like, a whole host of stars in it. And,
oh, yeah.
They got like really, really good looking stars in it. This is like one of those earlier ones of doing that.
I agree.
Maybe back in the 50s and stuff. I don't really know, but like this is our generation. This is our parameters, so we can definitely talk about this one. Yes. So The Outsiders had so many different guys coming of age, who were in their own right just heartthrobs, right?
Sure, they sure were. And to be more specific, yeah, we were young when this came out, so we didn't see it till later. This movie actually did come out in 1983. So yeah. we were in grade school.
So do you actually remember the first time you saw it?
I think it was with the Girl Squad.
Okay. I actually remember seeing it in school.
Really?
Yes, it was in one of our reading classes.
Well, there you go. See, you were still young.
Yes.
And they showed it and showcased that they're in school, right there in school. So,
yes. Yeah,
this was the early years. This was the early 80s. So they are all looking all smooth skinned, looking all good and everything. Like, man, hotties is kind of an understatement, but anyway.
And then you pepper that with the fact that it was a good story.
Yeah, it was.
Like, it really... it made you think for that age group. I mean, they had some serious issues going on in the story.
They did.
Now, the book was originally written back in the 60s, right?
It was, and we got that down here. The book was published in 1967.
Okay.
And the major differences and changes within society itself was happening and showcased in The Outsiders. Like you said, Coop, young adults, going through the ebb and flow of life and issues in society, like with the police and girls, crushes and gangs.
Yes.
I mean, like, I think it was a stronger theme of that back then because, they're looking for a sense of belonging.
Yeah.
So it went from family to a friend, close-knit friend group to then it was like, okay, troubled people,
right,
that were friends but kind of experimenting with life themselves, and all these characters are caught,
right,
and showcased right here in this great movie. But
and it's interesting because this movie also kind of smacks of West Side Story.
Yes.
Like you said, with this social setting of people, and and the differences that would cause the clashes, that usually ended up somebody, maybe the end of that clash wouldn't turn out so well for some of the members of these groups.
You're right. Like, they got cutthroat.
It really did.
I mean, because it did in West Side Story. Like, it was an interesting tale of young folks trying to make it in the world, trying to figure their place in the world.
Yeah.
But sometimes it didn't end all smiles and roses.
Exactly.
People might lose their life or whatever.
Exactly. And then you'd have the pondering moments after that, like, was it that important? You know, we lost so-and-so. Why were we fighting over this again?
Yeah.
Yes, and, you know, definitely claiming their turfs and stuff, which their turf was out, and I did not remember this, but it was in Oklahoma.
Yes.
Oh, Oklahoma. I did not remember that.
That's right. And the groups were the Greasers.
Yes, yes.
And they were at odds with the Socials.
Uh-huh.
That was their rival group. And the Greasers were probably, you know, this is where class distinctions come in. This still goes on today.
Oh, yeah.
Not as defined, because, I mean, it's like basically, this was the thing back in the 60s and 70s. Even the 50s, I'm sure, you know, like,
Sure.
who arrived and who was the society's view of trash.
Yes.
So the Greasers were the poor trash, if you will, and they weren't, but that's how they were viewed. And then the Socials, they were
Upscale, Ivy League.
yeah, going to college, you
Yeah.
know, they got good families in air quotes, you know, because they were troubled too, but
They were still in a gang.
so we got the players would be the main person. The story, he was the narrator. That was Pony Boy.
Yep.
I loved Pony Boy.
He would break your heart, didn't he?
They all kind of did, but
Yeah.
Pony Boy would, because, you know, you could tell he was trying to be loyal to his family.
Yeah.
He wanted to take care of his friends. He wanted to grow up. He wanted to be part of these gangs. He wanted to hold his own.
Right.
So he was like really in a lot of conflict and turmoil all from the very jump, you know.
Yes, as a young adolescent. Yeah.
And he was played by the talented C. Thomas Howell. So he was just very likable in this movie, and he kind of ran with Johnny. That was the delicious Ralph Macchio. Yeah, but he was like, you know, like this was, I think Karate Kid came out a year later. It was 84, the first one.
Yes.
So this was even before that, and he was still, he still looks young. He's got baby face for days.
Yes. At this point, he's probably like, enough.
So he had just his presence, he broke your heart. Like he I don't know, he just kind of pulled that off where he's just like, man, I wake up and my life's hard.
Yeah.
You know, and Pony Boy was like, well, I got you. We're together. Let's pal around. Let's be buddies. They took care of each other. I like that.
And they really did hang out more, the two of them, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Then there was the other one, Dallas.
Yes.
Who was played by Matt Dillon. And I think he actually, if I remember right, kind of took those two under his wing. Like, even though Pony Boy had his older brothers,
yeah,
I think Dally just kind of took it on himself to be like, I'm going to keep track of you guys.
Yes, and he was kind of what you would call, you know, he was the bad seed, though.
He was.
Because Pony Boy's family, they liked him, but they were like, be careful.
Yes, yes.
And Pony Boy's like, well, he's cool people, so I'll think about that tomorrow.
Right, and it's like he was there to get him in trouble, but there to get him out of trouble, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and who was Dallas played by?
That was the infamous Matt Dillon.
Yeah, he was entertaining in The Outsiders. He was a nut.
He'd jet that jaw out when he was making comments.
He would, yeah, and start blinking them eyes.
Yes!
You could see him spiraling, you know. You could tell he's like, I didn't like what you just said to me. I'm going to do something about that. Totally enjoyable.
Oh, yeah.
And some of the other greasers, let's see here. Oh, well, we do need to mention that they were trying to achieve redemption. So, like, we'll get there in a little bit, you know, how it all played out. But this movie was from the perspective of director Francis Ford Coppola.
He's a good one.
He is. And they do, like you said earlier, they do stories with heart.
Yes.
You can jump right into them. You forget you're watching a movie.
Right.
You get into it, the emotions start rolling, you know, you're cheering them on, and then you're upset and angry because somebody's poking at the protagonist and the antagonist or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you'll be crying because something happens that really, you know, just make you emotive.
Right.
But yeah, Francis Ford Coppola, this was his works, This movie did all that justice, and we are thankful for that.
Yeah, and the fact that it focused so much on kids, we were younger when it came out. But people who were of that age,
yeah,
probably really did identify with some of the things that were happening in the movie. And like you said, it brought, if you can watch something and it does evoke emotion, they did a good job.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
How often now are we sitting there watching something and you're like, yawn, I guess that's an emotion too. I'm sleepy now, this movie's boring. But,
yeah.
like movies like this, they were just characteristically home runs. They brought entertainment and they made you feel something, and that's cool.
They did. So missing that today. Like, it's just, I don't know, it's just a bunch of explosions and mess. Some shiny capes or whatever, and we're supposed to be entertained. Okay.
Right.
Try again.
And keep trying still.
So we're going to go over some of the other greasers. Of course, we got his brothers.
Yes.
So there's Daryl Shane Curtis. That's Derry.
Yep.
Okay, so now we're going down the list of eye candy. Patrick Swayze. I don't care what anybody says. He's pretty cute. He was hot. And he has a masculinity about him. Like, I don't know. Like, he's been in other films.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's just like, I'm going to handle it. He just comes on the screen. He's got that presence. He's like, so what's up?
Mm-hmm.
You don't mess with him. Like, he's just like, he was in, like, Roadhouse and...
Yeah, he was in...
Point Break and...
Yeah, he was in quite a few things that...
Yeah. Don't mess with him.
Yeah.
He's going to let you know. He's like, you know what? You're on my toe. Get off of it. But he'd come off as caring for his brother, for Pony Boy. And they had another brother. Hold on. Which one was that? That was...
Soda Pop.
Okay, yeah. Soda Pop.
Yep.
Sody Pop.
Yep, that would be Patrick Curtis. I personally was like, yeah, he was good looking.
Rob Lowe.
Oh,
okay, he was in that one.
Oh, pretty. He was pretty boy.
Yeah, sometimes I think that there's a lot of hype surrounding him because he still looks good even now. I mean, he looks older, but I mean, he's kept up with himself.
Yes.
But back in this movie,
this was his prime.
Oh my goodness! Go ahead, let's talk about Sody Pop.
It was like, can Sody Pop have more screen time, please?
Coop has spoken. Yeah, but he was the heart. Like, he was the middle brother, and he took care of, like, he wanted to please Derry and Pony Boy.
Yeah.
So, but him and Pony Boy were friends.
Uh-huh.
So they always really did take care of each other, but, like, Daryl, he had to take care of the family.
Right.
So he still was trying to have some sense about things. We can have our fun, but, let's not lose our minds over anything, and this whole this gang rival thing, and, that just dug up some stuff. Because didn't they lose their parents in a car accident or something?
I believe they did. So I can't remember if they gave the specifics on how long he had been, caring for the family like that. Plus, really caring for the whole group of gang members. Like, he was kind of their go-to. They looked to him.
Yep, they do.
So I don't remember how long it had been, but he'd obviously carved out that spot for himself, and people were more than willing to concede to that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then you already mentioned him a minute ago. That was Dallas Winston. He was from New York.
Uh-huh.
And he was actually Sody Pop's best friend. And also a fellow greaser. So he was supposed to be, they're all like teenagers. Daryl, he was like 20.
Yes, he was like the oldest of the group.
Which he looked older. Like, I mean, he really didn't look like a 20-year-old. He's just hot, whatever. But, I mean, that's what he was supposed to be. And Dally was 17. Dally looked older, too.
Yes.
Which, we'll get into that here in a second. I feel like a lot of people back then, like, you think about Rebel Without a Cause and some of these, because that's what they were kind of portray, that type of era.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They were kids, but they had a mature and older look about them. They were young.
Yes.
like kids now look like kids. I mean, they look weird, but they're but they actually look like they just all had to do is flick a switch and they'd be wearing suits and going to the office.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's like what is that specific term? Because I know exactly what you're saying.
Maturity?
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
I'm just guessing. Who knows?
But yeah, like you said, they were portraying to be much younger than what they actually probably were.
Yes.
They had to have been in mid-20s, if not later 20s.
Right.
But they were portraying like they were in their teenage years or something like that. I mean, they did seem, maybe it's because people didn't, I don't know, they just seemed older. They
did. I mean, kids, like, other than Ralph Macchio, I mean, he looks like a kid now. But, like, they all had more of a, I'm ready to just flick that switch and just take care of my business. You know, I just got to think, I got to do it.
Yes.
They already looked like they were grown, you know, or whatever.
Right.
Okay, so then we got Keith, 2-Bit Matthews.
Yes.
He's actually the oldest of the greasers, except, you know, of Derry. He's a junior in high school at 18.
Can you remember who depicted him? Which actor that was? That might be one for the Orchard Archivers.
Emilio Estevez?
Was he?
I think it's him.
Emilio Estevez, the Mighty Duckman. I swear to God, I was there. Of course you were. You were the one who yelled the Breakfast Clubber's name. I was like,
Emilio
Emilio!
is nuts.
Emilio!
He was laughing all crazy in this one, too, like he did in Young Guns.
Oh, my goodness. He's nuts.
I don't care what anybody says. Emilio Estevez, in his way, he was adorable.
Yeah.
I mean, he was kind of cute. Like, he was that bad boy cute, you know. So, and then he's entertaining on top of that. Like, you can just sit and watch it, and him goofing off and everything. Like, oh, God, what's he doing now?
Yeah.
What's he saying now?
And then another one, I mean, he is so in Hollywood. He probably, out of this whole group of men, is probably the biggest actor in this whole group. And that was the one who depicted Steve Randall, which was Tom Cruise.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, because I couldn't remember his name.
Yes, Steve Randall.
I've seen Outsiders a gazillion times, and I've seen him in it. Mm-hmm. But because he wasn't the focal point of it.
Right.
You forget that he was really in it.
Yes.
But he was cute in that, too. Because, I mean, well, he was in one of our favorite movies a year later with some fairies and unicorns and whatever. Good movie, by the way. But this was his prime.
Yes.
You know, right here in this little pocket of the 80s. Like, well, I don't know. He looked good in that one, though. With him and Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Okay, so, his prime kind of extended a little bit. Yeah. They all looked good in this movie.
Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button now. If this episode entertained you, please share it and spread the word. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your continued support. And now, back to the show.
So, you know, here we've just gone through the list of all of these names, these recognizable names, you know, that were all just kind of getting started, just kind of getting their footing, right?
Yeah.
Who knew that their stars would shine so brightly on into the future because they were doing this small movie? Not small, but I mean, it still isn't like to the caliber that they got to, right?
Yeah, yes.
And here, all on one stage at this one time. I love that.
Yeah.
Because it's like this was their beginnings for some of them.
And I mean, like now, you know, like a lot of movie stars and stuff, they're such divas about everything or entitled. It's like, you need to slow your roll. But all these heavy hitters in one film,
Right.
it's almost unheard of. You know, everybody wants to be the picture now. And, oh, we don't do the frame. Tom Cruise was not the picture in this one.
No.
And neither was Emilio Estevez. You know, it was really... I mean, you got to see Thomas Howell. It's Pony Boy. It's about him.
He was the main guy.
Yeah, him and Johnny.
Yep.
So, I don't know. And I'll tell you something else about this movie that kind of, sad was the beginning credits and end credits, the song.
Oh.
Stay Gold.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. And who sang that?
That would be Stevie Wonder.
Stevie Wonder, who's another old school talent when it comes to vocals.
Oh yeah, I think he might have got his start kind of in the late '60s, I think, but in the '80s he was still very much around. So the fact that they used him, and that song, it can choke you up if you listen to it. It's like, oh, okay.
Well, that's what happens when they craft and put true talent together.
Right.
It becomes an entity all on its own. That art is lost.
Right. And here we have a movie that we're talking about how many years later? This was 83.
Yeah, we were kids and totally didn't understand any of that concept.
Right. So now you can pop it in and still enjoy it and actually get the meaning of it, and it's still a good flick. Oh,
Yeah.
You can't touch the 80s, right? I mean, wow.
No, you can't.
So we have a story that's developing here. I believe the very first time we get to see everybody kind of interacting is the night when one of the main fights happens.
Yep.
And Pony Boy is denied going. He's told to stay home. You are not to go. Do not interact with this. We're going to handle our business. But it had just got to the point where it was to the boiling point. They were done with the socias. They were done. So I believe they met in a park. They were ready for their rumble.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And, all the mayhem ensues and all of that. And I can't remember exactly. I think Pony Boy and Johnny and Dally, didn't they all go to the movie?
Yes, at the drive-in.
And I think Dally, I can't remember if he took it upon himself to take the boys with him, or was it just to keep them from going to the danger? I can't remember exactly if they were sent with him or if he volunteered to take them.
Looks like we need to brush up on this movie again, huh?
We need a reason to watch it.
Well, I think it happened too because Pony Boy and Dally Johnny, they were, Dally was there.
Yeah.
But there was a couple of girls in their class.
Yes.
That they were just nice to. Like, I mean, they already had boyfriends and stuff, but I think was it Sherry?
Yeah, Sherry Valance.
Sherry Valance,
yeah.
Yes. She was a cheerleader, and she was the girlfriend of Bob.
Yeah, and then why is Bob important, yeah?
Well, he actually was killed.
Yeah, I think he was in that rumble.
Okay. So, yeah, Sherry and Pony Boy, they got reacquainted, smiling at each other, whatever, and they became friends. But then Sherry, and this is such a girl move, it's such a chick move. She's like in Dally.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, enter into that with your own risk, girlfriend. Dally's a hot mess or whatever.
He was trouble walking.
Yeah, but she becomes a spy for the Greasers. So she's networking, she's doing her thing, and she was there with her friend Marcia. I think she was flirting with Two-Bit. So again, do you girls not have any insight? These are probably the two biggest hot messes on the planet. But anyway, but what does he do? She gives him her number, and he throws it away.
Emilio Estevez, the Mighty Duckman. I swear to God, I was there. Of course you were. You were the one who yelled the Breakfast Clubber's name. I was like, Emilio!
Hot mess.
Yes. So I think to backtrack just a little bit, I'm thinking there was an altercation between Johnny and Pony Boy with Bob earlier. and the brothers found out about it. I think that might have been what made the rumble happen. They were done.
That tore off some scabs from probably earlier run-ins, right? Or just more about Ponyboy and Johnny.
Yeah, because I believe Bob, the boyfriend to Sherry,
right,
tried to drown Ponyboy.
Okay, so that's a scab. That's a whole. Let's take off the whole cast.
Yes. So, yeah, I mean that would usually evoke some emotion in your family. So
yeah, and Daryl, he's the big brother trying to keep his brothers out of trouble and stuff. He's trying to go straight.
Right.
But he's going blood thicker than water. You gonna mess with the babies? You gonna have a little tussle with me.
Right.
So,
and I believe Johnny actually kills Bob when he was.
That's why they took off.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the part of the story that gets real. You're like, man, a day in the life of a teenager, a troubled teenager, a couple of them. So where'd they end up going? They took off, and then Derry and them can't find him. They start looking for him, but they can't find the boys.
Yes, because Johnny, he couldn't necessarily go home. I think his mom was like really sick or something.
They were a hot mess.
Yeah,
I think
sad story.
The dad beat him or whatever. It was horrible.
Yeah. So I think Dally was kind of given the charge to get the boys out of town, just get them out of here. And I believe they went, I don't know if they went to another town or just out in the countryside, but there was like an abandoned church.
Yeah.
And they were staying there, and he would bring them food and having them lay low.
Yeah.
And
I know, it's sad.
yeah, because then somehow there's a fire that started.
There was a field trip. Some kids, school kids or something that were there. They went in there messing around. And did somebody throw a cigarette butt or something out and it started up? It got it wasn't out completely and it...
That might have been. I can't remember.
Because the kids were in there playing and went in there and the fire had already started.
Maybe it was the bus driver. The bus driver might have flicked the cigarette or something.
Okay.
And one of the kids they were screaming for help. Johnny ran back in to save one of the kids. Got the kids out. All of them were fine. And I think a beam came down and smashed him. And he got burned real badly.
That location that they picked, that church and everything, it looked spooky. It looked abandoned. It looked like you wouldn't want to be around it.
Yeah.
And this was their temporary home, and then it burns on top of that. It's like, oh my goodness. So this story, spoiler alert, some things happen.
Yeah.
But you come to find out, that put Johnny out of commission for the rest of the movie. I mean, they'd go pop in on him.
Yeah.
To say that they loved him and that, to visit him. He was still in the hospital, but should we go ahead and spoil or just let people remember? I don't know. Because it's this movie is great but sad.
Yeah. Let's keep it on a high note if we can.
Let's do that, yeah. Because, I mean, it's this is a really good retro gem.
Yeah.
Just for good story. if you want to fall into something and what's going to happen next, this is the movie for you.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, Ponyboy, at the end he was narrating, how all the next steps or whatever, but then that song played and it was like, are you kidding me right now? I mean, we were younger when we watched this, but but it stuck with you.
Right.
There were very, very key components about this movie and the direction it was going, what we were understanding about it. It's man, I mean, I don't know about you, but I mean, I saw it young with the Girl Squad. But there were things about this movie that was very impressionable.
Yeah, it resonated.
Mm-hmm. It did. I mean, because it was just just people, they didn't just get back up after cut,
Right.
I mean, these people, you were in their lives, and when things happened, it stuck with you, like you said.
Right.
So you're just like, man, those poor people had it hard, and the emotions were very well played out, I believe.
They were, and everybody seemed to be committed to whatever character they were playing, which is always spot on. It just, you do not come away from this movie not feeling some type of way.
Yeah.
So.
And this is something else too. I know I don't know, this might be one of the first few movies I can remember. I remember we watched The Secret of Nim. That was hard to watch. There are certain movies, when we watched as
American
kids.
Tail.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, let's keep naming them, right? Jeez.
I mean, if they have a sad component about them, and the ones we just mentioned, and many more, they do.
Yeah.
I, to this day, sometimes have a hard time wanting to watch them.
Oh yeah.
I won't do it.
Because now, even more so, you understand. And they, you know, the characters, they just look like, can somebody just help me? And you're like, if I was there, I would.
Yeah. They wouldn't want to film around you because you'd be interfering with everything coming and going.
Yeah, or even, cartoon characters can bring out emotion in you.
That's right. American Tail, Secret of Nim.
My goodness, yes.
So, my goodness, Charlotte's Web.
Yeah.
Don't you dare. You guys need to become vegans. We're not eating bacon. We're not doing it. But yeah, I mean, that really did make it hard to want to watch some movies. Even now, like, you're like, okay, I saw it. It was good. Yeah. I've got it filed in my heart, whatever.
Yeah.
But would you, like, really, like, it's almost like you're scared to put it in and watch because you're like, I don't want to cry. I don't want to relive that.
Yeah.
Yes, emotions were great, but we'll leave them we'll leave them safe where they're at.
But we still highly suggest you check it out if you have not seen it yet, because it is a good movie.
Yes, if you have a stronger consistency, do what Coop says. So, yeah, without spoiling, this caused a lot of the characters in the movie to rethink things and to grow up.
Yeah.
And to, just figure out how to regroup. Mm-hmm. They had to do that. So, and it wasn't just one or two characters. It was both sides, the rival gang. It was both on the socials side and the greasers. So,
and then you got the ladies peppered in there that, know, that's always like this classic story too, right? Yeah. The girl is on the guy wants the girl, but she's on the other side just by default. Yeah. And it's like, problems are going to come from that. Exactly. it just does. But, yeah.
But I do think that what's interesting, because, this, you can wash, rinse, repeat. You can take the names off of this one. You can change the name of this movie and put something else there. Yeah. But the main message, the primary message contained in The Outsiders is class divide, and that's still going on strong today. Yeah. So, we grew up of humble means. We're not embarrassed by that. We feel like we seen life from a different perspective, where you try to appreciate people and the things that come to you or you're around in it. Right. Everybody's struggling. Mm-hmm. But then, people they see things from a different perspective of maybe privilege or a little easier, like the socias. Yeah. Where things just kind of came to them a lot easier, like there may be people that of our humble means that look on that and have an envy or jealous of that. It's a natural human reaction, but that is still a thing that goes on today. Mm-hmm. And people struggle with it. Yeah. So, we just have to try to figure things out, try to be realistic about your personal situation. Stay in your lane. You don't let little nothing burgers get in the way and cause you to make wild decisions that you may be sorry for, to cause you to lose focus. It's just not that important. If you've got friends and family and you got decent health or whatever, the sunshine, chalk it up for what it is. Those are nice little blessings that one can enjoy. So, outside of that, nothing's really that important. Yeah. That's my take on The Outsiders. They had the gift of family and friends. They just had to figure things out, sort some things out. But, yeah, The Outsiders was a wonderful movie. So if you are bold enough to put it in and watch, go ahead.
Yes, we dare you.
But yeah, we definitely want to talk about more retro greats, TV shows, cartoons, and movies, so this isn't the end of our list. It's just still scrolling. It's scrolling on. There's even caramel prints all over it.
There's so much out there. Yeah. And we're excited to get to a lot of it. We really are.
Yeah, so stick with us. You know, we won't have it any other way. Love what you heard on this week's episode? Well, the answer is simple. To tune into future treks into the Orchard Archives, meet up with us here next week. Same time, same place at the Sweet Spot. And it would mean the world to us if you would leave us a shining rating and feedback. Spreading the word really is the best way to grow our podcast and explore more iconic memories. Thank you.